Expect resistance from local forces and watch for other operators in the AO. Ultra One, enemy threat is moderate near your location. Ultra One, enemy threat appears low in this area. Be advised, an operator in your area needs medical. Enemy threat is moderate in the AO. Ultra One, you've got hostile reinforcements incoming. Extraction is inbound at this time.
All Ultra, Dino 4's inbound for extraction. Be with you soon. Dino 4 is holding at the extraction point.
Hostile airstrike near your location. Welcome to Al Mazrah. Enemy threat is low in the area. Commander incoming. Activity has increased in the area. Keep your eyes open. Ultra One, we're seeing increased activity in the area. Stay sharp. Hostile advanced UAV deployed. Enemy bomb drone is in the area. Enemy threat appears low in your area. Ultra One, intel spotted a weapons case in your area. Location is marked on your TAC map. Be advised, a heavily armored target appears to be guarding it. ISR confirms the warlord Al-Nar, codenamed Pyro, is near your location. He has a contract on his head. Take it if you... Ultra One, you've got hostile reinforcements incoming. Enemy threat is moderate near your location. Welcome to Al Mazrah. Explore, secure intel, and loot to gain access to new missions. Enemy threat is high, so expect contact.
I didn't bring a sniper this game. So.
I brought one. I need to get over here and get a 2 plate though.
Ultra One, activity is increasing near your location. Stay alert.
There. Right there.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Any selfies now?
What the hell is this guy trying to do? Welcome to Al Mazrah. Exploring, looting, and securing intel will open access to missions and targets.
Expect resistance from local forces and watch for other operators in the AO. Ultra One, enemy threat is low in the area.
Get the fuck out.
Welcome to Al Mazrah. Kill confirmed. Too many of those will put a bounty contract on your head. Welcome to Al Mazrah. Explore, secure intel, and loot to gain access to new missions. Enemy threat is high, so expect contact.
Car marked. Enemy TAC rover marked. Got a TAC rover here.
Moderate in the AO. This is actual. Intel shows the warlord Al-Nar, codenamed Pyro, is active in your area. He's got a bounty on his head if you want it. Ultra One, enemy threat is moderate near your location.
Don't shoot at him. Oh.
Hey everybody, this is Russ from Metro Game Core. Ambernick has made a new controller. It's called the RGG01. Let's take a look at it here today. It's a pretty standard looking PC controller other than this 2.5-inch display right here on the front. Now, this is only for adjusting the settings. You can't put any cat videos or anything else on this controller. But now that I have that disappointing news out of the way, I have some good news too. It's a pretty good controller, all things considered, especially at the price point that they're asking, which is around $40 before shipping. So in this video, we're going to take a look at all the things that it can do and some of the things that it cannot do, and whether or not that's going to be a good fit for you. Grab your favorite snack and drink. Let's go ahead and get started.
Welcome to Al Mazrah. Exploring, looting, and securing intel will open access to missions and targets. Expect resistance from local forces, and watch for other operators in the AO.
ATV marked.
high in this AO, expect contact.
Come on.
Ultra One, an operator is requesting medical near your location. Enemy threat appears low in this. Ultra One, you've got hostile reinforcements incoming.
Blue. Você fala português?
In 11 and 3 to receive her computer. Yep.
Okay, right out of the gate, let's talk about the price. It's $40 retail, but for the first few days, they're going to have a whopping $4 off coupon. So if you do pick it up right when making this video, then you'll save a few dollars. It comes in 3 different colors, yellow, black, and white, and I've got 2 of them here to review. Now, word of warning, if you do buy one of these controllers, is that with the last controller, they embedded the shipping cost into every single controller as a way, I am assuming, of keeping the price lower, at least at first, before you check out. So it was like a $20 or $25 controller, and then they would charge you $15 shipping per controller. And I'm expecting something similar with this as well. So even though it is $40, I'm expecting around $15 shipping.
Armored boat marked.
Ultra One, enemy threat is moderate in the AO.
Targets in the area. Moving. Got a boat here.
Stay alert.
Moving.
So it's really about a $55 controller when you think about it. I'm going to dive into this in more detail later, but let's quickly go over each of the specs so you understand what we're getting here. So this thing will work on PC, including Linux and Windows, as well as mobile, so it can work on iOS and Android, and then it also works with Switch 1 and 2. The D-pad is very clicky. They call it a tactile switch. It feels very much so like an Xbox Series controller. And like with a lot of other PC controllers, it's got micro switch buttons, and so they are very clicky too. The joystick technology is inductive. This is similar to a Hall effect stick, but it also reduces electromagnetic interference. I'll leave a good explanation link down below if you want to read a little bit more about it, but I think this is going to be pretty good for a PC controller. The triggers are magnetic Hall effect, and they also have trigger stops if you want to have a digital input. And then also that screen that we talked about before is 2.5 inches and slightly curved and is an IPS LCD. As far as connectivity, you can use it with a 2.4 GHz dongle or also Bluetooth 5.0, or you can just connect it with a cable and use it wired. The battery is also quite large. It's 2100 milliamp hours, or about 20 hours of actual gameplay between charges. Of note, this only charges at 5 watts, so it takes a couple hours to fully charge. And as far as weight, it's 289 grams, a little bit over 10 ounces. This is almost identical to the weight of an Xbox Series controller with AA batteries inside. Okay, let's take a look inside of the box, and of note, Ambernick sent me over 2 controllers for review, and so like with all my videos, they're not going to see this ahead of time.
Enemy threat is high, so expect contact.
JLTV here. ATV marked.
ahead. Welcome to Al Mazrah. Exploring, looting, and securing intel will open access to missions and targets. Expect resistance from local forces, and watch for other operators in the AO.
Moving.
Ultra One, enemy threat is moderate in the AO.
time, no money was exchanged in any way, and all opinions are my own. The box is very simple, very Ambernic, so it's got the 3 colors, and that's about it. Inside the box, we've got the controller itself, a 2-meter or 6-foot cable, and then a couple other goodies down below. They've got one of those cheap cell phone clamps, so if you wanted to connect this to the top of the controller, you could do that as well. I think there are better ways to play mobile games, but you could do that with the same controller here. It also comes with taller joystick caps if you'd like to have more precise gaming, and then also their 2.4 gigahertz dongle, and this one's much smaller than on their previous controller. I also like that it's labeled Ambernic, so in case I misplace this, I know that it connects to the controller. And then finally, we've got one small user manual that will talk you through the settings, which we'll go through in this video. Okay, I've got the yellow and the white ones. I've been mostly testing with the white one this whole time, but I kind of like the color of the yellow one. The black and yellow contrast in particular is just really striking for me. I tend to like this color in general, and it's unique for a controller, so this is the one that we're going to focus on in this video. And first impressions of the controller is that it feels quite comfortable. It's nice and rounded. It's a good size. It reminds me of an Xbox controller, but maybe a little bit taller, probably because of this 2.5-inch screen. The front has a glossy texture to it. You can also remove this faceplate, which we'll do later, and then it's got a texture on the back here and then just a typical plastic on the side. But in terms of just overall heft and feel, I think it's very nice. I have medium-sized hands and everything is very easy to access, but I think if you've got smaller hands, the taller height of this might make it a little bit harder to hit the shoulders and triggers. At the same time, if you've got big old hands, then this might be a little bit more comfortable than a typical Xbox controller. The other thing I noticed right out of the gate is that we've got these little locks right here for the triggers, and by default they're going to be...
Welcome to Al Mazrah. Welcome to Al Mazrah. Explore, secure intel, and loot to gain access to new missions. Enemy threat is high, so expect contact. Ultra One, enemy threat appears low in your area.
Got a truck here.
Ultra One, be advised, enemy threat is high in the AO. Ultra One, activity has increased in the area. Keep your eyes open. Enemy precision airstrike. Find cover. Enemy operator secured a weapons case. Tracking their location on your tactics. Ultra One, you've got hostile reinforcements incoming. Kilo is heading your way. Ultra One, we're seeing increased activity in the area. Stay sharp.
up, which is going to be a Nintendo Switch input. So just a digital 0 to 100% input here. They call this a 3-degree input. And in this position, I think it's very comfortable. My fingers don't touch it in any way, and it feels good. So if I'm playing Switch games, it's a nice fit. However, when you flick it down, you can see that the post actually gets a lot taller than it was previously. So it's nice and thin here and in a good position, and then it gets quite big. This does give you that full analog input, which feels great, especially with more modern titles. But the unfortunate thing is this post right here kind of gets in the way of my middle finger. And so this is the first ergonomic thing that I noticed right off the gate, is that my middle fingers press up against these little posts when I have it in the analog input mode, which is most of the time. If we look at some other controllers, they've got them positioned in a better place. This is the GameStore Supernova right here, and you can see that, yeah, this is a perfect position. My fingers are never going to touch this spot, but they are accessible if I need them. Same thing with the 8BitDo Ultimate 2. You can see that these are right here, super easy to access, and also don't take up any space. Here's another PC controller I really love, the GameStore G7 Pro, and this one has the same thing, where they're in an excellent position. And then finally, my favorite might be on the Cyclone 2 from GameStore as well.
Ultra One, enemy threat is low in the area. Ultra One, copy that. Requesting medical for you now.
Bravo 07, I'm back in.
These are actually embedded within the trigger, and so you actually flick them from within here and then use it like that. And so this is probably the perfect position for me because I'm never going to touch them. So this is something I noticed right off the bat, and that it does get in the way of my middle finger. It's probably one of the worst positions I've seen with a PC controller that has trigger stops. The other thing I noticed is that this is almost identical to another controller that I've seen before, the Mambo 1. I actually picked this one up so I could compare it against the Ambernick. And yes, sure enough, these things are almost identical between the two. You can see they have the same sort of design to them. There are a couple things that are a little bit different, like the caps on the analog sticks are a little bit different, and the D-pad is membrane on this one while it's clicky on the other. But overall, I would say that these are probably made in the exact same factory. My guess is there's probably a white label factory that will make these controllers on demand for certain companies and then allow you to put your own branding on them. And so my guess here is that Mamba did that and Ambernick did as well. Even the little details like like the texture on the back and the location of the trigger stops, and just the design of the shoulders and triggers is so similar between the two. There are also some subtle differences. For example, this one has a little bit different of a layout on the screen, but it does the exact same thing. This one also has RGB lighting along the sides, which you can adjust in the settings. And then finally, this one also comes with its own charging dock. And the charging dock is solid. It will fit with the controller very nicely, and you can also put the 2.4 gigahertz dongle underneath.
Move in here.
And so then you can just have a single cable solution like you can with 8BitDo and GameServe products too. So overall, I love the fact that there is a charging dock for this one. The first Ambernic controller, the P01, also looked and felt like a knockoff of the 8BitDo Ultimate controller as well. So I'm not surprised that the new controller also looks like other controllers on the market. Now the Mamba one is more expensive than the Ambernic. This one is $70 retail on Amazon, but with free shipping, and you can probably find it cheaper on AliExpress if you wait for a deal, whereas this one is $40 plus $15 shipping. So there's about a $15 price difference between the two at the retail level, and it probably has to do with this charging dock. Now personally, I love these charging docks because the peace of mind that comes from just dropping your controller into the dock and then picking it up and knowing that it's fully charged, but unfortunately that's not going to be an option with the Ambernic because it doesn't have the pogo pins that are required to use it with the dock. And so unfortunately, even if they sold it as a later accessory, it would probably be a janky setup compared to something that's seamless like this. And I gotta say, it hurts a little bit that they didn't go with the charging dock on the Ambernic. If they obviously went to the same factory to order their controller, this should have been one of the things that they picked up at the same time, instead of some of the other features they have on this, including a heart rate monitor, which we'll talk about later. Next, we'll talk about the controls. We'll start with the analog sticks. So these are actually pretty nice sticks. They feel nice and smooth just physically, but then also the input is very good. They've got a nice smooth circular input, and you've got very little dead zone as well, so you can configure this however you would like. There are a couple options we can do in the settings too. It's also got a lot of the features I would like to see in a modern joystick, like the metal around the post, and they have POM rings, which are a lot smoother. I've seen these on other controllers, including the Xbox LAX. If you want to swap it out for the taller joystick, it's a very simple process. You just pull it out and then plop the other one in, and so a very simple way to give you additional height here. Personally, I don't usually use these, but if you like that, for example, with a first-person shooter game, you can use that on either stick. And then finally, I also like the caps that we have here. They're very Xbox style, and they have that nice bumpy texture to them. It's very grippy, and so overall, yes, I think they are very good sticks in a nice position and everything. Let's talk about the D-pad next. So it has a tactile switch, which is a little loud, but not as loud as an Xbox Series controller, but it does feel very similar to that. But the shield itself is a little bit more prominent on mainly north, south, east, and west. And so overall, I like the feel of this controller. It's a very precise D-pad because it pivots and you can feel every little movement. And so this is going to be great for things like Street Fighter style games and for precision platformers. I've been using it for about a week and no issues whatsoever. The face buttons are glossy and they are micro switches. They are nice and clicky, very tactile and precise. The actuation force is a little bit tough on these. Like, you have to push it down a little bit hard, and I had some concerns about that, whether or not it would be fatiguing, but I don't know. I knocked out about 4 hours of Hades 2 with this, and I had no problems whatsoever once I acclimated to the actuation force. There are definitely lighter buttons out there, but I don't think it's a problem. The face buttons took me a minute to actually get used to, but the start button's on the right, the select button's on the far left. This is the capture button, I never really used it, and then this is the home button. So if you tap on that, it'll bring up the Xbox menu if you're playing in Windows, or if you press and hold it, it'll bring up the settings menu on the screen, which we'll check out later. Other than that, we've got 2 rumble motors that are just standard, like they're not special haptic or anything, and then this face plate also comes off. So you have to take off the D-pad first, which comes out like that, and then you can take off the rest of the face plate. It's held in magnetically. Once you have it out, you could then use a screwdriver to get further inside if you needed to, for example, replace your joysticks or maybe just clean it out. And then one thing worth noting is the face buttons are not interchangeable on this, so you're going to be stuck with the Xbox A, B, X, Y pattern. If these pulled out, and they don't, it's just a little bit too curved on one side to be able to swap A, B, X, Y anyway. On the top, we've got our USB-C port for charging as well as using it in wired mode. And then we've also got that adapter right here to be able to connect it to a cell phone. Now, this does not adjust angles in any way. It just opens up to be able to put your phone inside. So very rudimentary. And personally, I've never found this to be a very comfortable experience anyway. The angle that it holds your phone at is not half bad, but I would much rather have the ability to adjust it as needed depending on my gameplay style. I do like the shoulder and triggers on this device. The shoulders are a little bit clicky, but not super loud. And then I do like the analog input here. They're very...
Welcome to Al Mazrah. Exploring, looting, and securing intel will open access to missions and targets. Expect resistance from local forces and watch for other...
very much so shaped like an Xbox controller, but a little bit rounded on the top, and they do have a nice texture to the plastic as well that feels good on my finger. And so overall, I like the feel of these triggers and shoulders altogether. On the back, we've got the trigger stops that we talked about earlier. I think it is a shame that the mode that I like the best, the analog mode, is the one that's the most disruptive to your actual gameplay because it gets right in the way of your middle finger. Also on the back, we've got 4 buttons that can be programmed in the software on the screen, and then we've got an on and off switch. And it's kind of funny, but I really like this switch. I like the ability to just turn on or off the controller very easily, as opposed to holding a certain button and remembering what button does what. As a whole, I think it's a very good controller. It's just very baffling to me that they have these trigger stops right in the way of your finger. How did this not get past the factory in the first place, and why did they not put them up somewhere higher? Alright, now let's talk about the screen and all the features that we have inside. So first thing, you need to turn on the controller itself. It'll give you a little Ambernick logo, and then after that, it's going to immediately start pairing. And by default, it's going to try to pair with that 2.4 gigahertz dongle. So you can just plug this into your PC, it'll connect automatically, and that's it. Before we do any of that stuff, let's actually go into the menu and talk about it. So first thing you have to do is press and hold the home button for a few seconds, and this is what it's going to look like. So the first option is your different modes. So you can go into X input or D input or Nintendo Switch or Android or iOS, and you can also specify whether or not you want it to be with the receiver or with the Bluetooth connection. So for example, if you wanted to do D input but with a 2.4 gigahertz dongle, you would set it up like that. It will restart the controller and then it'll try to connect that way. Now if we press home again and get back into the settings, you'll see that by default it's at D input and receiver. And honestly, this is a pretty handy feature, probably the thing I've used the most in all of my testing, just being able to swap between different platforms. With most other controllers, you have to memorize certain hotkeys, like pressing home and then Y to use, Nintendo Switch or whatever. And so I like the fact that I can just do this directly on the screen. After that, we've got the pairing menu. This will just go back into pairing mode. And then we have our settings option. There's a lot of things within here. In the button settings, we can go, and for the regular buttons, we can actually set up things like turbo speed. But then also, if we want to go into the
1, enemy threat is moderate in the AO. threat is moderate in the AO. Ultra One, you've got hostile reinforcements incoming.
Find order. RGs.
Welcome to Al Mazrah. Explore, secure intel, and loot to gain access to new missions. Enemy threat is high, so expect contact. Threat level is high in this AO. Expect contact.
Target marked.
Ultra One, an operator is near your location and requesting medical. Ultra One, enemy threat appears low in your area.
Made going night. You've got hostile reinforcements incoming. Kilo is moving in your direction.
Macro buttons, the ones in the back, we can set that up as well. So if you want this to be just a single press or multiple presses, you can program that all within here. In the trigger section, we have just standard stuff, so we can adjust the dead zone and how long it takes to actually get to 100% if you want something that's a little bit closer to a hair trigger. In the joystick menu, you can set up different things too. You can adjust the dead zone. You can see it's at 5% by default. We can also change out the different profiles in terms of the input. So we have one called immediate, then a latency one, which is going to be a little bit smoother feeling, and then we have the performance one too. I've just been playing it at the default straight line, but obviously if you are really getting into things and you want to adjust it to your liking, you've got 4 different options here. The sensor function is their gyroscope. So if you go into here, you can adjust it manually. So by default, it's going to be turned off, but you can map it to your left or right joystick. So for example, if you wanted the right joystick, the one you look with in a first-person shooter game, you can map that to the gyro. So you would set that. And the next section is called open method, but it's really just how are you going to turn on that. You can either have it always on, or you can actuate it with a specific button press. And then you can also adjust the sensitivity of the gyro. And then finally, you can change it between what they call racing and shot mode. I'm not really sure what the difference is between the two. I wasn't able to figure that out. And of note, this joystick function is separate than the Nintendo Switch 6-axis gyro, which works in the Switch mode, which we'll test out here later. Finally, we have the ability to adjust the vibration strength. By default, it's going to be on full speed, and I gotta say that even at its lowest speed, which is right here, it's still pretty darn strong, to the point where I mostly have just been turning it off, which is kind of a shame. I wish that we had a little bit more subtle rumble here, just because, man, it is pretty strong. To give you an idea, a game that uses a lot of rumble is Donkey Kong Bonanza, and this is so much rumble here. Even when going into the game settings and turning it down there too, it's still too much for my hands. I don't like this feeling.
Watch for other operators in the AO.
Today's adventure begins in the studio, parting with, dare I say, the day has come that I'm selling my arcade 1-up marble pinball. It's going for a good cause. As we stated in the previous video, this will be Loki's last time saying goodbye to Marvel. We're both Marvel fans. She still has her At Games Legends 4K, but it's going to a good cause. We have plans in the works, folks. Don't worry. Something big's coming. Final look at the side. It was the art like this that sold this for me. And the side with the Fantastic Four. I absolutely love the art, and I had no plans to get in this. and it just happened to be at the right price at the right
Welcome
time.
to Al Mazrah. Explore, secure intel, and loot to gain access to new missions. Enemy threat is high, so expect contact. Ultra One, enemy threat is moderate near your location.
Build a website you.
Ultra One, copy your medical request. Alert Ultra One, an operator responded to your medic request. They're inbound.
Good to go.
Ultra One, an operator has responded to your medical request. Ultra One, activity is increasing near your location. Stay alert.